Hey guys, this is Dan Duran, your pro hacker in Hack the Box, and today we're going to do starting point, first tier, number 3, or name of the box is going to be 3. So it's all about Amazon Web Services, so AWS S3 buckets, so CDN buckets. So as you can see, I have my OpenVPN running already in here, so make sure you do this. And the first thing we're going to do here is, just as usual, we're going to ping this IP address. So I just copy the IP address and we're going to do a quick ping to make sure that we're getting data from the server. So we're ready to go. Everything seems good. I also created a folder here called 3 for this box. All right, so let's get to the first question. How many TC ports are open? So for that, it's going to be very easy. We're going to do an nmap. So nmap, and I'm just going to do a full nmap, or sorry, a fast nmap. So -F is for fast, and we got 2 ports open. So 22, which is this is SSH, and then HTTP port 80. So the answer is 2. All right, let's get to the next one. What is the domain of the email address provided in the contact section of the website? All right, so for that, we're going to do HTTP, go to the browser, and then enter the IP address. And they said contact, so I'm gonna click on contact, and here it is. So it is the toppers HTTP. So the toppers, I'm gonna copy this, the toppers HTTP, and yes, that's what it is. In the absence of a DNS server, which Linux file can we use to resolve host names to IP addresses in order to be able to access the websites that point to those host names? That one is fairly easy. So we've done this before, right? So we've done this before. So we know what to do here. It is going to be nano/etc/host. So this is it. And we're going to add toppers, the toppers in here as well. First, I'm going to put the IP address. So let me just get that IP address. Copy and paste it in here. So Shift Controls V, that's going to paste the toppers, Control X, Y, and enter. And there you go. So it is, as we said, it was etc hosts. So here is the answer, etc hosts. Perfect. All right, next one. Which subdomain is discovered during further enumeration? Okay, so we can use a few tools for that. We can use wfuzz, we can use dirtbuster, we can use GoBuster. So I'm going to use GoBuster for this one because I really like GoBuster. If you don't have it installed, then very easy, sudo install GoBuster, like that, sudo apt install GoBuster. Perfect. And for this, we need also access to the word list. So I'm going to do cd user share word list, and we have a whole bunch of word lists, but I want to direct you to one set of word lists that are amazing, that everybody in the pen testing and the ethical hacking community uses, which is seclists. So I'm going to type in GitHub seclist. It doesn't come with your Linux distribution or your Kali Linux, but it is this one here. This is from Daniel Missler. I think I pronounced that name correctly. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this, right? So this repository, copy it, and inside of your work list right here, you're going to do sudo git clone, and you're going to bring this repository into your system. And this is going to take a little while, so see you in the flip side.
3 hours later.
Can you move it along? I'm all out of time cards.
Okay, once that's done, then we do an ls, and you'll see here that you have a new folder called seclists. This one over here. So let's do cd seclist. In here, you'll see a whole bunch of different word lists. So we can do fuzzing, we can do discover. So cd discovery, I like this one a lot. Discovery, cd DNS, these are it. So subdomains. So we have a whole bunch of subdomains that we can use in here, right? Got it? Okay, perfect. Let's go back to our folder. So cd squiggly desktop HTTP3, and here we are. So we're going to do a GoBuster now. So I want to go in here and see how we have the IP address in here. I'm going to change this to http://thetoppers.htb. So this is the URL that we're going to fuzz. So we're going to get a subdomain from this URL by fuzzing it. We're going to use GoBuster for this. Fairly easy. So I'm going to copy this code here, and I'm going to show you what it is. So it is GoBuster vhost. Vhost is for discovery subdomains. U is for URL. You put the URL in there. So the toppers.htb. The word list is going to point to user share seclist. And this seclist, I believe, is wrong. It's with capital S and capital L. So there, seclist. discover DNS subdomain top 1,020,000.txt, and then append domain. Right, so we do this and I got an error, so let's go back here. All right, so user, I think I made a mistake in here. It is share word list, sec list, discovery, DNS, and then subdomain, and we're going to use, let's use 5,000, which is much shorter than that, and then append domain, and let's hit it. All right, so starting to work. Let's see if we can get any subdomains, and here it is. We see this one right away. Number one is S3, the toppers. So I'm just going to cancel this now because we have the subdomain right in here. So to answer the question, let's go back to Hack the Box. Which subdomain is discovered? So it's s3.thetoppers.htb, and that's what it is. Perfect. Which service is running on the discover subdomain? Something, something, something 3. Obviously, we looked at this. We determined it's S3, right? So this is Amazon Web Services, so AWS S3 buckets. So it is going to be Amazon S3. Let's see, Amazon S3. Perfect. Which command line utility can be used to interact with the services running on the discovered subdomain? And that would be AWS CLI, right? So if we look for AWS CLI usage, then here in Amazon Web Services, you are going to be able to learn about how to use AWS CLI, right? So AWS right there for EC2, so Elastic Compute 2 and S3 as well, and anything that has to do with AWS, right? So the answer is AWS CLI. AWS CLI. Perfect. All right. So you have to install now AWS CLI. So you do sudo apt install AWS CLI. And I already have it installed, so I don't have to install it again, but make sure you do that. And then you can do TLDR, for example, AWS. So that's the command line AWS. And you'll see in here all the commands for AWS, or the most important ones. You can also do AWS help, right? And it gives you much more information. Maybe not for AWS. All right, so man, AWS, maybe it has a man. No manuals. Okay. Thanks a lot, AWS. All right, so now that we have AWS, we need to know how to manage it, right? So let's go back to our questions. Which command is used to set up the AWS CLI installation? I'll show you this real quick. TLDR AWS, if we go up here, there it is. Configure AWS command line, it's AWS configure wizard, right? If I go back, there is no wizard in here, but it is configure, so AWS configure, and that's what it is. So let's do just that. So in here, in your command prompt, what you're gonna do is type in AWS configure. I already have it configured, and you can get an access key, so I'm just gonna put A, secret key A, default region name A, default output format A, and I configured that. So it is configure in here. Now let's go to the next one. So number 8, what is the command used by the above utility to list all the S3 buckets? So obviously in the terminal, we know that listing is ls, right? For AWS, it's going to be AWS, and then S3. It could be EC2 if you're using EC2, but in this case it's S3. So S3 ls, and that will list all the information. I could not connect because I have to add the endpoint, right? So, but that's okay. So for this, for answering task number 8 is going to be AWS S3 ls, and that's what it is. This service is configured to run files written in what web scripting language? And this is where you need to learn. This is where you have to go through kind of the working here on how to use AWS CLI. I have a few commands in here. So for example, if I do an ls on our website, so the toppers, it would be something like this, right? So AWS S3 ls, and then you have to type in the argument --endpoint -URL equals to the subdomain, so S3 the toppers.htb, and then S3 the bucket name, so this is the bucket name, // the toppers.htb. If I do this, could not connect to the endpoint, and I know exactly why that is. So what we're gonna do here is sudo nano etc host, and we have to add a new host name to our entry. Right, so we go here like that, and then we type in s3.thetoppers.htb, and that should work now. So we do the same, and perfect. So we're connecting. You can see that I have an index.php and an ht access. So the question is, this service is configured to run files written in what web scripting language? And it is PHP. right? So PHP, that's the answer. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're at the very last. How do we get the flag? And to get the flag, it's going to be actually fairly simple. I'm going to teach you how to create a shell using PHP, and this is going to be fairly easy to do. It's probably going to be your first shell, and this is how you do it. So nano, and we're going to call it shell.php, doesn't matter. And in PHP, you have to remember the arguments and the way the syntax works. So this is how it works. So you put 2 brackets, right? So 2 brackets in there, and then you put 2 question marks like that, and then you put PHP at the very beginning. So this is kind of like your PHP syntax. Then after that, what we're going to do is we're going to always have 2 brackets in here like that and a semicolon. So that's going to be what's inside of your syntax or inside the commands that we're going to send through. And in this case, we're going to do system like that. So system inside, I'm going to put a get. Don't worry, you will learn this. You will learn this. I have big hopes for you. And the get is like this, like that. So $, and then get, and inside here, I'm going to put another set of brackets, and then I'm going to put in quotes CMD, and that's our shell. So let me explain this. You have to have your beginning bracket, you have to have your ending bracket, you have to have your argument in the middle with brackets or round brackets, and at the very end in here you have to have your semicolon. You have to have whatever it is you're going to do. So this is a very basic shell for PHP. And then get CMD. CMD means just command, so you can pass through commands in here. So I'm going to do Control X, Y, and then enter, and then cat shell, and there it is, right? So this we're going to put inside of the bucket. And in order to do that, we're going to copy. So I have my script already prepared for you. So AWS S3 and then copy, right? Copy from the endpoint URL HTTP S3 the toppers.htb, and then the shell, so the name of the file that we're going to upload, and then the bucket S3 the toppers. So let's do that. So it says here that it's uploaded, right? And if I do arrow up a couple of times here, if I do an ls now, the shell is already installed. So it is already there. Now, if I go here to the toppers and then I put shell.php cmd ls, there it is. So now I can see what's inside because I'm doing a command ls on this bucket, right? Using PHP. So if I do, for example, ls plus, which the alternative for space. So instead of doing a space, I'm going to do a plus, and then I do // for example, and start to see all the information about this server. So if I take out one slash in here, right, then I see backups, cache, etc. And if I do, for example, right, http // the toppers shell, and then images. So let's just do ls by itself. So now images in here. So plus images, and let's make sure that it's http // there it is. So these are the images inside of the bucket. Now if I go back and do ls plus and then // then I see the flag. So we almost have the flag. It's almost ours. So what do you do to get the flag? I'll give you 3 seconds to answer. 1, 2, 3. All right, so what you have to do, let me show you. It's very easy. This is just like the terminal, right? So what you do is you do cat, right? Cat, and then // flag.txt, and there you go. So there is your flag. So you just go back and then add your flag to the box. That's it. Very easy. I know you have to learn how to use S3 buckets and AWS, but the more you do it, the better you're gonna get. I promise. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.